Welcome to the Tuesday review. I'm Nathan, as always, joined by Callum and James in the studio. How you going, guys?
Good, thank
you.
you.
Pretty good.
Good. It's a nice chill. Well, it's chill so far.
No. So we thought this was going to be a chill episode, and then we got in the studio and we started talking about what we were going to talk about in the show, and no, it's not going to be chill.
Okay. On paper, it's a review roundtable.
Yeah.
With a spectre in the room of a certain trailer that they've dropped.
Yeah, no, and a lot of other things that we have to talk about. I was just like, I'll talk about a couple of things, Nathan talk about a couple of things. But then we started yelling and arguing about things, and I was like, oh no, now we have to talk about this on the show. Here we go. So we'll start with it to get out of the way, but it'll end up taking over half of the show. So we'll try to keep it short.
Yep.
So we've already made an agreement with Callum. If he starts to ramble, we'll tell him.
I'll cut his mic.
No, we don't have to do that, but we'll tell him to
wrap it up. Yeah, wrap it up. Yeah.
So this morning, the Marvel MCU The Eternals trailer dropped, and the
movie Kumail got ripped for.
Yeah,
looks awesome. Yeah, he has a great figure for it. I'm kind of. I always like seeing superheroes look like superheroes in the comics. That kind of makes me giddy.
Yeah. But I didn't think much of it. I was like, oh, that looks kind of cool. But you can't tell with MCU trailers because they show you the cool bits and then they don't show you the dodgy CGI. What do you call it? The climactic battle where things are just
Black Panther syndrome.
Yeah, they don't show you that stuff. They just show you like the cool character moments and they don't want to spoil anything of it. So I was just like, oh yeah, that looks kind of cool. But it's too hard to tell with these movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, like, at this point, we kind of know what we're getting from the MCU. And it's like, yeah, it'll be good, but it's like whether it'll be great or not.
Probably. I said to Nathan, I was telling Nathan, like, before the show how I have problems with it. But I'm like, but at least with their track record, it'll be fine.
It won't be a complete
I'm like, at worst, it'll be okay.
Yeah. Even the worst MCU movies are still not that bad, and
better than DC's for comparison. Yeah,
yeah. So you watch it like I said, it's hard to actually gauge. Like I've always said, if you're either in or out with the MCU. So the trailers are almost
we're too long in the game now.
Yeah, it's like the trailer doesn't even matter. Like I was just like, well, I'm gonna see it anyway. But like I said, it's you can't really gauge if the movie's going to be good or not.
Yeah.
You know it's going to be of an MCU standard, but whether it's going to be great, it's probably not. Because
also this is one of those weird movies where the trailer doesn't actually tell us pretty much anything about what's going on.
So,
for some context, my understanding of the original comic book characters are the Celeste, because they're a lesser known property as well. Like, if you haven't read the comics, you might not be overly familiar with them.
Yeah, the trailer, if you're not familiar with them, the trailer doesn't really...
The quick rundown is there were a bunch of beings before sentient life, or the first sentient life, depending on how you want to frame it, are called the Celestials. They created a whole bunch of sentient races, such as human beings, Kree, the Skrulls, all these other people.
So they're like Celestials are like gods.
Yeah, basically.
Almost.
And in the comics, they interfered with a whole bunch of like proto-humans.
Yeah.
And those people from, the different parts of the world or whatever became the Eternals. And then over the generations, only a few of them could breed. So over the generations, you get what we get in the comics, these group of people.
Yeah.
In the movie, though, they're being framed as ancient aliens.
Well...
at least that's what the synopsis claims.
Yeah, well, I mean, just going off the trailer, you do see the ship, which I assume is the Celestial ship, coming to the like early caveman time.
Yeah.
And assumedly turning one of them into the, an immortal person or whatever.
So I think there seems to be contradictions straight off the bat between the blurb writing department and what they're actually filming. And that's probably not that uncommon, to be fair.
Yeah. But also keep in mind is the trailer doesn't, like we said, show a lot.
The trailer, it shows a fair bit, but nothing in context, nothing that leads us to any real story direction.
No.
The only issue I have that kind of makes me wary is, and like James, I was talking about this before the show with James, just so James knows I'm going to repeat myself.
Which is 90% of what we do.
Yeah,
Anyway.
the Jack Kirby comics. If you're familiar with Jack Kirby's work, he was a really colorful artist. Like he made his name with Stan Lee on like things like the
iconic.
Fantastic Four and like other like kind of
Yeah,
like big
Spider-Man.
colorful comics. So his colors jump off the page. Really vibrant, dynamic
Well,
designs.
To be fair, also that period in comic book history like was colorful.
Yeah. But I'm like, so his
Jack Kirby
original
was a
characters,
legend,
the original creations.
Yeah.
I'm like, they just look awesome. Even to this day, so you can go back to Jack Kirby's work. Some of it hasn't aged particularly well, but some of his work is amazing to this day.
Yeah.
So we get the trailer drops, and the costumes have that bland MCU kind of look that doesn't jump off the screen. I was kind of like, this is the best they can do.
I like the look
come
of
on.
the costumes, but like I was saying to you before the show, the MCU movies are so uniform that they're obviously not going to go like super like vibrant, and that is a negative. But
they
it's
should
like
do better.
But also it makes sense. Like I said, you know what you're going to get from the MCU. It's like they're very uniform.
Yeah,
my feeling is like
it's a comic book. Yeah, it's an Eternals comic book adaptation, but it still has to fit into the MCU.
That's the other thing.
But
They'll
like
change a lot from the comics to fit into the MCU.
but they're
because
also like,
they also have to explain where the Eternals have been this whole time, especially when Thanos was running around.
Got to keep in mind, Callum, that
to-
they have to fit it in the framework of what we already have.
Yeah.
But my point is like these big larger than life characters who are supposed to be amazing, and then they have these kind of like beige looking outfits.
It's a valid criticism because like I love the MCU. Like I said, you're either in or you're out, and I'm in, even though it has problems and whatever. It's like I still generally enjoy it, and still most of the movies are fun and I enjoy
And the TV shows have been on point for the most part.
The Disney Plus stuff. But like in saying that, there is the problem of they all start to look and feel and sound all identical, and that makes sense because they're all a shared universe. But also, it doesn't allow for more
distinction.
Yeah, more distinction, and just more creativity.
Yeah, like I would assume, like if you told me an Eternals movie was going to be made and I had no idea about it, and I had no idea about the MCU, I'd assume it was going to be this like big grand, like not space opera's the wrong word, but this big grand sci-fi fantasy with big colors and just like in my mind's eye.
Yeah,
and of course what we get is that kind of middle of the road, but kind of colorful, kind of bland.
But
result.
also keep in mind, like I just said, what we saw in the trailer
might
is
not be indicative.
Yeah, like the like I said, the climax and whatever, like the big action set pieces, you don't even get a glimpse of.
Well, I was telling Callum before the show, I was reading reactions to this trailer on Twitter before, and one person said that he reckons they're adapting or parts of a specific comic arc.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In which the Eternals, like what we see with all the spacey stuff, is probably like almost at the start, like a prologue, like explaining who they are.
Yeah,
and then in one of the comic arcs, they sort of get in a way brainwashed, and they sort of
think they're human.
They think they're human, and so they have to fit into society. And I think, I agree with this guy. What the most likely storyline for this movie is going to be they're human, and maybe they have
the
like
snap
dreams,
wakes them up.
Or I think that. To fit it into the MCU, to explain
their absence.
So the Eternals can control their molecular structure, kind of like Dr. Manhattan in a way. So maybe the snap wakes them up when they try. Some of them kind of almost die, but their atoms kind of just glued back together.
Also in the trailer, like there is the voiceover. He's like, we had like a policy of non-interference. Yeah. So I hope they don't just explain it away of like they've been around for hundreds of thousands of years, and just every time something bad happened, they were like, "Nah."
That's what I worry about because I'm maybe it's like the Captain Marvel argument. It's like, where was she during the original Avengers problem during Ultron? It's like busy other stuff.
There's some other.
Look, it's a lame cop out a little bit, right? Yeah. But like, I think the easiest and most likely answer is it's going to be them. We might get some cool set pieces of like they might sort of digitize them into scenes from like
no, that would be lame.
It'll be lame. Yeah. But we might get scenes set in the past during events. Like if it's them, if it's like it could take like the movie could take place over 10 years. We don't know. of like them.
I would, yeah, I mean, I
being
would hope
humans. I'll just even cool little flashback.
I would hope
scenes.
that it shows. I mean, I think do we see? I can't.
Oh, look,
I
it
can't
takes
even
place
remember
over
the
thousands of
trailer.
years, technically.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, like, you'd hope that they show scenes throughout all of human history.
But I think most likely it's going to be kind of a boring, straightforward tale of them trying to reconnect. Maybe they have like dreams, or they see visions of each other.
Honestly,
or
like
they're uncovering the mystery of who they really are.
Honestly, like, you know, I'm a glass half empty kind of guy, and I think at the end of the day, I hate to say it, but what we see in the trailer is going to be the best parts, the best looking parts, the best feeling parts. The parts we don't see are all the Black Panther CGI.
One thing that I get really the one thing that kind of really excites me about this film is it has Dane Whitman. The Black Knight, who's an Avengers character who's kind of lesser known if you don't read the comics.
He's not in the trailer. He's played by Kit Harington. I don't remember seeing him in the trailer.
So his character has a cursed sword, and he also has a whole bunch of other magical weapons. But the cursed sword is the cool part.
Hopefully it's like he's not just
he can't really shed blood with it, otherwise it activates the curse. But he's got some other kind of powers too. But he's just an interesting character.
Yeah,
there's like time stuff with him as well, and it's kind of like spirits, and
it'll be
awesome.
interesting to see how they deal with it.
So I hope he's a big part of it. You know what I mean? Like, I hope they don't show, because like the Eternals to me, they look boring. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Give me Kit Harington with the cursed sword. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Reminds me of I want him. The cursed sword. I'm hoping they get like old school sword fantasy back, because apparently they're rebooting Highlander.
That's what I was gonna. That's what I was gonna say. Is like, I hope that they don't like, because you know, once he gets the Black Knight outfit or whatever, I hope he's not just like motion capture. You know, like a Black Panther kind of suit kind of thing.
Well, they don't need to give him that much.
Black Panther had some practicals, like had a practical suit.
Just need to give him a sword, and he'll do. You know, he can just swing it.
But you know what I mean. I hope they don't just go too. They always end up doing it. They always end up, especially because MCU has a tendency to get these interesting directors in and being like, oh, you know, bring your unique aspect, and then just hammering out all the unique aspects, and then taking the action scenes away from them and being like, don't worry about it, we got it, and then it's just CGI crap. Yeah. So it ends up being, it doesn't matter who you get to direct it, because at the end of the day, it is an MCU film. Like, it's a factory-made film. And like I said, I enjoy them, but that is a problem. So what we see in the Eternals trailer, I think, looks cool, but at the end product is probably just going to be a very, you know,
average,
rounded MCU average thing. But, I mean, fingers crossed it's not, but...
This was just a teaser trailer, so, you know, there might be further thoughts down the line.
Yeah.
Oh, no, when we get the official trailer, we'll probably learn a little bit more about what the plot is. This is just all speculation.
Yeah, which we want to do. Should we move on?
Yeah, we shall move on.
Well, I thought we could talk about Love, Death and Robots, because Nathan and I have watched it. Unfortunately, Callum hasn't had time to watch it, but... We're not going to spoil anything, and I was just like, I thought we'd just get out of the way before we do the actual proper roundtable. I liked it, but it's not as good as the first season or first volume.
There's a couple of good shorts, but it was missing a lot of a different animation style. Like, there was like and a 2D sort of animation.
There was one 2D, and then the rest were... most of them were like really photorealistic CGI.
The first one was like cartoony.
And the first one was cartoony CGI.
But the rest were kind of aimed for photorealism, which is kind of disappointing. Because one of the good things about the first season was there was variety.
Exactly. Very dynamic,
It was like you didn't know what you were getting.
And like the variety in stories in the first season
was also a lot better.
Yeah.
There was a lot of sort of like more high concept CG, spacefaring CG sort of stories in this one. I liked, almost funnily enough, I liked the Christmas one almost the most.
Oh, yeah.
That was the really shortest one. It was like 5 minutes long.
That's like what I'm going to imagine Santa is from now on.
I mean, without spoiling anything, there's like a 5-minute short about kids discovering Father Christmas.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like the best.
That was good, yeah.
It might like, it's a weirder, shorter one, but I feel like it was one of the strongest.
I feel like they should do more like that. Like just really short, really weird.
Yeah.
Don't worry about like the really high concept photorealistic. Like you do a couple of those, sure, but that shouldn't be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Keep it weird. Keep it short. Keep it weird.
Yeah.
Keep it dynamic, as Callum said.
Because I mean, when we talked about the first, when did the first season come out? 2 years ago?
Couple years
more,
ago. Yeah.
even more, maybe. I don't know, but I remember it came out and we were like, "Are they going to do more?" No one knows. I don't think Netflix had said, and then this kind of just dropped out of nowhere.
It could be a production of COVID too.
That's what I was going to say.
We need something to put out.
The fact that we didn't even know this second one was coming, and it did. So I'm hoping that this just means that they're just kind of trying to tide us over while they're
everything
working
else
on
has been
more.
delayed.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes sense because the first one was 18 episodes and this is only 8.
Yeah.
So maybe it was a situation of like we have 8 ready to go.
Yeah.
Drop them now.
So
we can drop another 10.
Yeah, I'm hoping then
6
they do
months, a
volume
year.
3 and then volume 4, and it's just like each season different amount of episodes, different thing.
Like I can see that happening because of the environment we're in now,
Yeah.
right? It's COVID. We got 8 episodes that were ready, maybe not the best they had planned,
yeah.
but it's what we've got.
Yeah.
That's me being optimistic.
Yeah, exactly. I'm hoping that that's the case, and they're not just like, oh, we're just gonna keep cutting it, and you'll get 3, maybe never, and that kind of thing. I'm hoping that they, because I want to see more, and I want to see different.
I want to see more risks.
Yeah, like this is one of the reasons. Like I remember when we talked about the first season, I was just like, they should do Love, Death and Robots. Then they should also do another anthology that's just other weird animation stuff and other weird live action stuff.
I think that's also one of the problems I had is they were almost too hyper focused on the robots.
Yeah, most of them about the robots, and I was just like, no, that's just the name. You don't actually have to focus on.
One of my other favorite ones was about the last episode was about the giant.
Oh, that was really interesting.
And that was more interesting. It wasn't a lot of them. They try to be like fast and punchy, and this one was a bit slower, a little bit gentler. Yeah, if you want to use that word, a little bit more contemplative.
Yeah.
And I thought that was another one of the better ones. It has nothing to do with robots.
Yeah. They should do stuff like that, but also like, I remember, what Adult Swim used to be or is supposed to be. Or what Liquid Television was back in the 90s on MTV. It's just like really weird, really out there shorts. They should do more.
Yeah,
just
100%.
in general, not just with Love, Death and Robots, but with another series. And
I agree. I think that I think maybe it's just like a COVID contingency plan.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we get more variety and more seasons.
Probably like 90% of Netflix is in development got put on hold.
Yeah.
So it's like they have to find something to put out, so it may as well be shorts. By their definition, like they can just drop up episodes because it's an anthology.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah, see how it goes.
I liked it. Not as strong as season
though.
1.
But some people are saying it sucked, and I was just like, no, it was 8 episodes of cool animation. What do you want?
Like, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed every episode.
Yeah, no,
just because they're not as good as the heights of the
just
because
there wasn't as many. Yeah, no, it was awesome. I enjoyed it. Well, I'll go first if you don't mind, just because I'll hopefully be quick. But so I got my TV set up because like I said last week or the week before, like we're getting renovations done. I got it set up last week just before we did Drive, so I got to watch Drive properly. And so now I've been putting the extra time in trying to catch up. Good news is I got it set up where it was before, but good news is now that we're kind of reconfiguring the house, might move it to another place, so I gotta have a bit more room. So potentially I could get a bigger TV, big sound system, a big couch like with the recliners like you guys. Probably won't go for the projector, but probably like a giant TV. But we'll see. That probably won't be for a while, but that could be in the works.
No,
so
that's
that'll
good,
be
man.
cool.
That's good.
I don't really know what to talk about first, but
whatever your heart tells you.
Well,
have you got decades listed?
No. Well, we won't do that this week. We'll do that another time.
Okay.
Because there's a couple of things that I watched that I feel like I have to mention, even though I probably bore the listeners to death. But first thing, I'll try to keep it short. First thing, Castlevania Season 4.
No spoilers.
No, I won't spoil it. Really good. Really good. I really enjoyed it.
Satisfying ending, because I'm assuming it's the finale,
so,
right?
Yeah, they decided to wrap it up with this season.
Am I right? Did I read that they're doing a spin-off?
Well, that's what I was getting at. Is the end? The end feels satisfying, but it does feel a little bit rushed. I feel like they could have done at least one more season, probably even two, probably even more, really. But they did say something about they're going to do a spin-off, which I really hope they do, because there's a lot to explore and really cool stuff going on. It's a really cool show. And they could easily just flash forward 100 years and do Simon Belmont, because this series was about Trevor Belmont, his ancestor or whatever. So it'd be cool if they just flash forward. And you could still have, obviously, vampire characters who don't age. And then you could just have a whole bunch of new characters.
Yeah.
And they could explore a different... So I really hope they do that, because I would like to see more of it.
We want more 2D animation in general.
Yeah. And just really cool vampire fighting action. I won't spoil it, but Alucard, like, they show his full power set, or whatever you call it. You know, they turn it up to 11. It's awesome. All right. Did you guys watch the first episode of MODOK?
No.
I didn't think it was funny.
You did?
I didn't.
Oh. It's meant to be some sort of like almost like Robot Chicken.
Like the animation. It's like stop motion animation. It's very, very reminiscent
Patton
of Robot.
Oswalt.
Yeah, of Robot Chicken. Seth Green is even a producer on it. Patton Oswalt, does the voice, and it's supposed to be because it's on Star. It's not on.
It's on Disney Star.
It's not on Disney Plus. It's not on Disney Plus. It's on Disney Star, because it's like the more edgy. Yeah. They swear, and there's some more risque jokes. But honestly, I didn't think it was very funny. And they're releasing it week to week, which okay.
That's Disney's big on that.
Yeah, and I was just like, I have so much to watch. I don't know if I want to continue watching it. And this brings me to my next show, which is I started watching Jupiter's Legacy. And I didn't like the first episode, but I usually watch the whole season so I can at least give a rounded, opinion. I watched the second episode, didn't like that. And I was just like, there's some interesting ideas here. I watched the third episode. I was like, nah, I don't have time for this. I've got so much to watch. I'm so busy at work. Got so much stuff going on at home. Don't have time to keep watching this crap. And so I just decided to stop watching it, even though there was stuff I was really interested in that I would like to see explored.
It might be a case where the comics will be superior. You know what I mean?
Like what? I can tell you if it was explored or not.
Well, that's what I was that's what I was getting to, is that Nathan did finish it, but I don't want to spoil it for anyone listening. But yeah, there were interesting things. Like, I like the idea of, like, the whole capitalism thing, but it wasn't a good show. It was very CW-esque. Very, very
I live for that shit. So it's
yeah, you and your Riverdale. I swear to God.
Hey, that's on hiatus, right? I haven't had any Riverdale for a while.
But yeah, what was I saying? I feel like, because I haven't read the comic, but yeah, the comic book probably explored it better. But also the comic book, if this is indicative of the comic book, it's kind of cringe. And I guess Miller, he's done some great stuff, but also a lot of his stuff is kind of too edgy 5Me kind of thing.
Yeah.
And remember years ago when Netflix partnered with Miller World and they were going to bring to life all these
comics and
Miller comics. I think this is the first one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I hope this is not signs of things to come. This is not a good start.
I don't know if there were production problems or development problems with this property, because, like you said, it's a little CWE, which is weird for Netflix.
It feels almost like they shot it for another network and then sold it to Netflix, even though I know that's not true, because they developed it at Netflix.
Like, some of it looks nice. Some of it's a budget.
The special effects are terrible.
Yeah, the special effects aren't great. The budget's a little weird.
It's kind of, strange.
They try really hard not to drop the F-bomb.
Yeah, they do.
It's really strange.
Maybe they wanted it to be like a family-friendly superhero show.
I think so, yeah. But then there's also moments of like extreme violence,
Yeah.
Which I think is also the American thing of like you can show people getting their faces ripped off.
Just don't swear and don't have nudity.
But if you don't have the F-bomb
sounds
and
really
nudity, then
tonally
you're fine.
inconsistent.
Yeah.
It is a bit tonally inconsistent. The budget's weird because some scenes will look really nice, and we'll say the 1920s sort of scenes, the flashback scenes, are really cool, and then
Those were the most interesting parts.
and that I agree. That probably was like the flashback sequences or the flashback storyline was the best part of the show for me as well.
Yeah.
And then you get sent forward into the future, and it's kind of a bit CW-y. The suits are a little bit naff, and like
the acting's really bad.
The acting's really bad, and they're the same.
It's very
like they're the same actors in the flashback sequences.
The makeup
as in
is terrible. The age makeup is terrible.
There's no age makeup. They just give the dude grey hair, and they're just like,
no, but you can see they got really bad like
I didn't even
B-movie
notice
wrinkles. Yeah, it's really bad.
So like, look, I enjoy it. Like, I'm not one to turn my nose up at garbage.
At least you acknowledge.
I acknowledge
me and James the snobs.
Yeah, that's it.
I like garbage.
I will
when
eat
it's
from
good.
I will eat from the trough. However, like I can't acknowledge there are problems with this show, but I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just a bit like usually I would like to finish out the season at least, but yeah, in this instance I couldn't do it.
All I would say is possibly you could watch some sort of YouTube mashup of all the flashback sequences, and then watch like a half hour.
Yeah, a fan
like
edit would be really
edit.
cool. Yeah,
Because that is the sort of the side of the show that has the most payoff.
Yeah.
That's got mystery and like
I feel
sort of the budget for the flashback sequences were almost better than the budget for the modern like the main portion.
Better.
Of the show.
Yeah, it was weird.
It's very weird.
Anyway,
Continue, James.
Well, no, I think that's it. Like, there's some. I'll be very quick with this because, like I said months ago, during lockdown or whatever, it's like it's hard to talk about video games, is because it's such a long experience, and it's such an involved thing that, especially if someone else hasn't played it, it's hard to discuss.
Yeah.
But it's something. Maybe it'll tie into what Callum talks about. I don't know, but like, like I said in my lockdown episodes, like I'm focusing more on collecting Blu-rays. Like I'm not going to the movies as much anymore. Like
it worked out all right because there's nothing out.
Well, yeah, and there's nothing out. But also same with gaming. Like I've got such a big back catalog of games I haven't played, and like I would like to try to catch up with that rather than spending 60, 70, 80, $100 on new games and then not having time to play them. I might as well catch up on the ones I already have that I haven't played, or wait for these new games to drop in price and then buy them later. And I feel like that's a much better thing because I played Prey, Prey, from 2017.
I love that game.
Which I hadn't played when it came out.
I loved that game.
And I got it for $8 on Xbox One. And I was just like, I don't have time to play this, but I played like an hour or two each week. And it took me 26 hours to finish or whatever over, weeks. But eventually I finished it, and I had problems with it. I didn't love it as much as you, Nathan, but I won't go into it. But the fact that it was $8 and I finally got to play a game that I hadn't before, I was like, awesome. So I want to do that more because there are games out now that I really want, but I don't want to shell out $100.
Yeah.
And I don't even have time to play it.
Yeah.
So I might as well wait till it goes down in price. Then I can play it later. Like I finally got around to playing Spec Ops: The Line, which everyone talks about. Oh my god!
I've also got that game. I haven't played it yet.
That's a good game.
It came out in like 2012 or something.
That's a good game though. Yeah.
And like I had it on the Xbox 360. I just never played it. I never finally got around to playing it. It's a short game. I think I finished it in about 8 hours or something. It's interesting. Again, I have problems with it, but it's interesting, and we won't go into it. But it's like I'm enjoying. In the same way I'm enjoying...
discovering games,
yeah, in the same way I'm enjoying rediscovering movies in, like, just watching them when I want to watch them, what I want to watch, and not feeling like I need to spend money on new stuff, like, or on the big fame, like, whatever's popular.
I mean, yeah, as far
it's the same with games. Like, I just want to catch up and...
At the moment, with the release schedule, it is anyway, the only movies I'm buying are, like, classics or movies I'm upgrading from Blu-ray to 4K.
Yeah, like I'm upgrading all my DVDs to Blu-ray, and it's costing me a fortune. But
It'll be worth it.
To relive these old movies that I love, that I've seen so many times, now
higher
in
fidelity,
HD, sometimes in 4K, I was just like mind blowing. It's like
especially if you end up getting a bigger TV.
Yeah, and during lockdown, I rewatched, because I had the Austin Powers trilogy on DVD, and those DVDs.
We have a DVD.
This is
is it the blue sparkly DVD set?
No, it's not. It was their individual ones, not the set. But like this is like early DVD, like early 2000s.
We also have an early DVD Austin Powers Blu-ray set DVD.
I think everybody probably does.
Yeah, no, everyone does, right?
Everyone from a certain era. Yeah,
everyone our age has the early 2000s copies of DVD copies of Austin Powers. But during lockdown, I upgraded to the Blu-ray, and it's like night and day. It was like watching the movie for the first time, and it's a movie. It's Austin Powers. I've seen it a billion times.
It's funny every time.
It's it's a comedy. It doesn't have the best cinematography in the world, but watching it on Blu-ray, it was like watching it for the first time. It was amazing.
Awesome.
So you can imagine that for movies that are
cinematographically
great. Yeah, movies that look really nice. You know, like classic old, movies. When they come out in 4K or whatever, like I'm enjoying that more, and I'm enjoying watching it, not even like for no reason other than I want to watch it. Yeah. Which is one of the reasons why on review roundtables and stuff, and like I was just kind of like, you know what, pick a decade and I'll talk about a movie I had watched, not because I want to talk about it, but because I had already watched it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I just want to watch and play stuff because I want to, and not because I want to talk about it on the show, or not because other people are watching and playing it and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the way everyone should. Yeah, and that's the way everyone should normally consume content.
Yeah, like I'm more excited about watching movies now than I was in 2019.
See,
because
you're planting a seed in my brain. Maybe I shouldn't be watching them in watch list order, and I should just watch one that I want to watch.
Yeah, like it's more like a feeling, or like
right now. This is semi-related, and I'm stuck in this struggle with myself. I feel it sounds really weird and strange, but The Astronaut's Wife is on Netflix, and it's a good movie.
Wait, Astronaut's Wife? No, I haven't seen that one.
But it's a movie I always start watching. And I'm like, have I seen this movie? Do I remember this movie?
Yeah.
But I'm never sure if I've actually seen it all the way through. And then I'm like, wait, I'll watch something I know I haven't seen. And then I never fully watch this movie because I'm never fully sure if I've seen it all or not. And I always change my mind.
Just watch it.
So
and
I have to sit
by the
down.
end of it, you'll know.
Yeah, that's it. So, like, relating to that, I'm going to have to sit myself down and be like, this is a good movie. Just rewatch it if you have to.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't struggle and suffer on finding something new to watch.
Yeah, and also like before in 2019, before the lockdown happened, whatever, like I would stress over like what are we going to review on the show next? What can I watch that we can talk about? And so the movies I watch and TV shows and whatever and games I played, it was more about what can I do that's like fun to talk about, that the audience, that the listeners might like. But then it became not fun to do it. And then during lockdown, when we weren't doing the show, it kind of renewed my love of watching movies, because I was just collecting Blu-rays and watching movies for the fun of it and playing games for the fun of it, and didn't have to worry about if it made good content for the show, And so like now, like I said, I'm going to try and go more towards that side from now on.
It works with our current format most of the time anyway.
Yeah, and I think
because we all have different
review
enough tastes.
Roundtables work well enough.
That we all have stuff to talk about. We all watch separate things. I have a reputation for liking garbage television, and that's fine. I have my own garbage to talk about. James has his weird Italian era specific.
Oh yeah,
like cinema to watch.
Next review roundtable, we'll talk about the spectrum of Italian movies. You got Fellini classics, and then you've got like horror movie trash. Yeah, it's like yes,
and
Italy, you geniuses.
And Callum has something in between.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it from me. I don't know who wants to go next.
Look, I'll go next, but we'll go to a quick break first, and then we'll come in and I have some thoughts on Army of the Dead.
Speaking of garbage.
Yeah, speaking of garbage, I told you I'm not gonna lie. You are back on the Tuesday review, and it is a review roundtable week, and it is currently my time to shine.
Your turn on the
although I've kind of I've shared half of my turn with James this week anyway, between Love, Death and Robots and Jupiter's Legacy. But for my specific mini review this week, I will talk about Army of the Dead by Zack Snyder.
Yes,
not Schneider, Snyder.
See, you're not Snyder.
Zack Snyder.
Army of the Dead by Rob Schneider.
That'd be an interesting movie.
Rob Schneider is a zombie. But yeah, this movie encapsulates exactly what I was just talking about. Where I was thinking about, I was like, should I watch it to talk about in the show because it'll be fun and I'll have lots of hot takes and I'll probably hate it and it'll be fun to yell and rant about it. And I'll just like, you know what?
James doesn't have to watch
time.
it. James doesn't have to watch it because it's right up my alley.
Yeah, but it's like I don't want to waste my time. Like I got other stuff to do, other stuff to watch. So
it's alright. I've got you
but
covered.
Luckily, Nathan was like, "What, day one?" You were like, "I'm in."
To be fair, I haven't seen it either, and my will to watch it is not the highest.
Yeah,
look.
Resist.
It's all right. You boys don't have to want to watch it because I'll watch it and I'll enjoy it.
I was thinking, I was like, curiosity, I'm curious about it, but you know what they say? Curiosity killed the cat.
Or the tiger in this movie.
Oh, okay.
Is there
a zombie tiger?
There is a zombie tiger.
Okay.
Cool. It's Las Vegas. There's a zombie tiger.
I was going to say, is Joe Exotic a zombie? Because that's a movie I would watch.
A couple of quick points before I actually start talking about the movie itself. It is 2.5 hours long, which people have criticized, but I would say the first hour of this movie is just really nice world development. They don't step foot into Las Vegas for the first 50 minutes, hour.
Wow, that's a long time.
It's introducing the characters. It's doing all this, laying this groundwork for stuff to come, which I really appreciated. It's slower than maybe that's part of the reason people don't like it, because it's slower than the trailer suggests in a lot of ways. So that interested me.
Look, I mean, I haven't seen it, but knowing Zack Snyder, I feel like it's not the right kind of slowness, and it's mostly slow motion and just excessive, gratuitous self-indulgence.
There's a lot of self-indulgence. There's issues. I have issues with the camera and the lenses he used.
Oh yeah, I heard about this.
It's an extremely short focus lens, so it looks lovely. In Dolby Vision, it looks lovely. 4K pictures, amazing. But the lenses he used, anything that's not directly in the foreground is kind of blurry and fuzzy.
Yeah,
that's by design. And some shots it works really well, some shots it doesn't. And some shots you're like, well, I want to see what's going on over there, but it's blurry and I can't see anything. Yeah. So there were some issues with cameras aside. The heavy use of practical elements surprised me.
That's surprising because the trailer looks like CGI nonsense.
Yeah, no, there are scenes which are CGI nonsense, largely like overhead scenes of Vegas and what are they going to do? Crowd scenes. But I watched the a half an hour behind the scenes thing about them creating in this, and they created all of these sets that looked amazing and large scale sets, and they had hundreds of extras.
Oh wow!
All with zombie makeup.
That's cool.
Blood. They augmented practical blood effects with CG, obviously. But he got up in there. They had all of these practical elements, even a lot of the stunts. There's the zombie tiger, and they show you filming this zombie tiger. You think it'll be CG, but obviously the tiger's CG. But the actual actor is there flying around on these wires, getting hit with into the environment. Yeah, which is all foam and safe, but it looks real. Yeah, and it's and the actor said, this is the first time I've done sort of stunts like this. He's all the other films I've been in, this would just be CG added in post, but he's trying to do everything practically. The movie only costs between 50 and 70 million to make, and you can see where every dollar goes.
Okay.
That by itself, that surprised me. The amount of money they invested into making this movie. Yeah. There's no Hollywood accounting here. You see where everything goes. Yeah. Which was a nice surprise to see all this practical, and the gore is amazing.
Yeah, well, you'd hope so.
Another couple of weird plot points, and no spoilers. There's a weird aliens theory.
Yeah, I've heard of the robots and the aliens.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's Zack Snyder's self-indulgence, but it's also Netflix wanting to make this a franchise because they've already made a prequel animated film.
No, there's a prequel and then there's an animated film. They're separate.
There's two.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and Zack Snyder wants a sequel.
So I feel like even though critically Zack Snyder, people don't really take him seriously, commercially, I think he's big enough and he's big enough name that I think Netflix was just like, do whatever you want. And he's like, okay, this and that, and aliens and cool things.
Especially now after the Snyder Cut, his profile's probably so much larger in like the public mind.
Like any press is good press, and so they're just like, do whatever. And so it's just him going, oh, cool stuff. And I was just wondering, does that make a good movie though? If he's just like, jerking off in front of the camera.
Look, I enjoyed it. Again, my reputation notwithstanding on this show, I enjoyed it. There also is a really cool thing that I appreciate, and I'm going to have to, if I ever rewatch the movie, I'm going to have to pay close attention to. There's a theory that this is a time loop movie. Just to add on extra stuff that James would hate. There's references and scenes that that's
interesting.
That kind of infer that this is the fourth time the group of characters in the movie have been in this time loop. Or possible time loop. Without going into spoiler territory, there's a very interesting theory.
Not going to let the curiosity get the better of me. Because I know for a fact you're going to convince me to watch it. I'll watch it and I'll hate it. No, I'll hate every minute of it, and I'll get so mad.
I'm not.
Or I'll love it. I can't tell.
but man, like the alien thing is weird. Like the robot thing's weird because like some of them have like blue eyes, and I don't know if that's just like an effect or if it's just people reaching.
I feel like it's Zack Snyder going like, isn't this cool? Like there's a whole backstory that you don't know about, and
but like, I never saw anything about robots in the movie. I never noticed anything. I think it's because some of the zombies have like blue eyes or whatever. Yeah. I'm like, is that just like an aesthetic choice they didn't intend for people to think they're robot zombies?
I think they're supposed to be. I can't remember.
But the time loop thing is really interesting, and I want to sort of go back one day and like pay more attention, or I'll just YouTube it.
Well, yeah, we'll see what happens with the prequel and the animated thing, and
shout out to what's the actor's name? He's
Batista.
Nah, Batista's fine in this. He's fine in everything.
He's good.
He's good. He was in Sons of Anarchy, James. The younger Latino Juice.
Yeah, Theo something?
Yes, Theo Rossi.
Ah, yes.
He's in this movie, and he's very good.
Okay.
He plays like kind of like a bad guy. Like he's like a dick cop kind of guy.
It's hard to, because like he was in one of the Marvel things as Shades. Remember Luke Cage?
Yeah.
And it was hard after seeing him play Juice in Sons of Anarchy. It's hard to see him as not that sniveling, like character. But no, he was good in the Marvel things.
And he was also very good in Army of the Dead.
Okay.
Stop making me want to watch this film.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
But the time loop thing is the most captivating for me because now I want to rewatch it and I'm be looking for clues. Because there's some visual clues and some straight out kind of references and stuff like that. It's really could have like kind of like an interesting sci-fi twist.
Yeah.
And again, it could just be Zack Snyder jerking off and being, look how much I can fit.
Yeah, I feel like it's that thing. He's like, I'm going to do everything I want to do, and it doesn't matter if it's ever explained or explored.
Yeah, but look, overall, I enjoyed it. That's all I've got for today. We've got to move on for Callum's takes.
Yeah, I've been watching a bit older movies, so if you've seen The Wrestler, I apologize. But so there's Darren Aronofsky. Yeah. Did I butcher the name?
No, that's right.
He's a great director we all love.
Well, I don't think everyone likes him.
You might remember we talked about Mother, and he's done some other movies, but he's like a great kind of auteur director. He's a visionary.
Yeah.
And one of the movies I watched last year, I think it was Pi. And it was a movie that really captivated my attention. And sometimes I just find myself thinking about it during the day.
It's that kind of movie.
Like once because it feels
it
like...
It burrows into your mind.
Yeah, it's an iconic storyline, lots of interesting imagery, and I just think about it. So I looked up the director, some of the other movies he's done. And I saw a movie I didn't realize he made called The Wrestler, which I'd seen years ago.
Yeah.
Starring the excellent Mickey Rourke as a washed up wrestler called the Ram, Randy the Ram.
Yeah.
Can't remember his surname. That's shocking.
Remember,
anyway,
it's like one of those 80s kind of big hair wrestlers who's
he was like
now
exactly.
he's like aged.
He was like a WCW era,
Yeah.
late 80s kind of wrestler guy, a character.
Yeah.
Who was what they call the face, like the hero character.
Yeah.
And
now he's washed
he was
up.
partially modeled after Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, that kind
of thing.
Yeah.
And it's about this gentleman after his fall from fame. The industry kind of moved on without him.
Yeah.
And he finds himself just
He's very
operating
bitter.
in independent circuits.
Yeah. He's
And
what do you call it? Very rusty.
yeah, he's aging. He's still popular in certain circles, but he doesn't have any money. He doesn't really have a family. He lives in a trailer park.
Yeah.
And so it's a story. It's a drama about him trying to find relevance again, while also trying to fix the problems of his life as they kind of arise.
He's like trying to reconnect with his daughter.
Yeah, and he has health problems. He has a heart attack.
Yeah.
But the reason I wanted to talk about it was because it's an uncommonly good performance by Mickey Rourke. So Mickey Rourke is a great actor, but he's done some terrible performances in his time.
He was like a great actor in the 80s and 90s. Like he was like really,
like Angel Heart kind of era.
Like really and then it just kind of
bombed.
Nosedived.
Yeah.
And then I feel like The Wrestler was like his Travolta in Pulp Fiction kind of like
people refer to it as his
comeback.
resurgence. He's kind of like he pulls out his chops for it.
But then since then I feel like he's gotten worse again.
So the reason I find this movie so interesting that I want to talk about it is because the underside of the wrestling world, like the behind the scenes culture stuff, is not something you see very often in movies or TV. It's kind of like very much not insular is the wrong word, but it's not exposed to the light very often. So like professional, when I say wrestling, I'm talking about professional wrestling, the scripted fake wrestling,
WWE,
not like the athletic wrestling. And so it's like a kind of like a culture piece in a way. So it's like there's like locker room scenes where they use the lingo and you see how it all works behind the scenes. And the reason it's such a great film is because Aronofsky got permission to actually attend and film at legitimate wrestling events, including legitimate wrestlers.
Yeah.
So like one of the most famous scenes in the film is a wrestle match between Randy the Ram and a wrestler called Necro Butcher. And Necro Butcher is actually a real wrestler, and that's how he wrestles in real life.
Yeah.
The extreme hardcore violence matches where they'll hit each other with like bats with barbed wire and like through glass windows and stuff.
That's like a subgenre of wrestling.
It's hardcore wrestling.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There's all kinds of different terminology.
Yeah.
I was looking it up, and it's like you can get a whole glossary on like various. Anyway, there's in that scene. It was at an independent wrestling match, but one of the Mickey Rourke's stunt performer actually got seriously lacerated from the he goes through a plate glass like thing.
Yeah.
But they rigged it incorrectly and it didn't go off at the right time.
Yeah.
And he got seriously cut up. So when you see the blood coming out of it's legit.
Real.
It's like lots of legit blood.
Yeah.
Like Mickey Rourke actually cut open his forehead for the film.
It's one of those movies that feels very authentic.
And it kind of is. Yeah. And of course, Mickey Rourke is kind of buff in it, but because he was a boxer, people forget sometimes he had that weird boxing career going on.
Also, drugs.
Yeah, I was just saying they do use steroids in the film.
Yeah,
because there is that.
It's
whole
a very
thing.
like raw, emotionally raw film. Like it doesn't shy away from. Like,
one of the greatest scenes in the film is a scene where he has to give up wrestling because his heart can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
So he wants to use that time to reconnect with his daughter, but he needs more money.
Yeah.
So he gets a job at a deli, and so the whole thing.
That was a real deli, wasn't it?
I think so.
I feel like they shot at a real deli.
It looks authentic. And
Mickey Rourke was actually serving customers.
Maybe.
I think that was the thing from memory.
But the interesting thing is that he finds himself trapped between two worlds because in one world he's like a world famous wrestler, people know who he is, people respect him, but then in the real quote unquote real world he's like
a washed up,
just kind of almost homeless, Whereas he's got no money, no one respects him, he works a job he hates.
Yeah.
And to make ends meet and to reconnect with his daughter, he needs more money. So he gets more work at a deli, like the deli part of the supermarket he works at. And people are just like, he hates it. You can see on his face, his performance. And then one character keeps going, hey, aren't you the ram?
Yeah.
And he like cuts his finger in the meat slicer.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, God.
Yeah.
And then he storms out, and I'm like, oh, no.
One thing I remember from the movie is, like, because the 80s was his heyday, like, he's definitely stuck in that era.
That mindset, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of like Johnny and Cobra Kai, it's like that the 80s was his...
Yeah.
Like, that's when he was peak, and so now he's just obsessed with the 80s.
Well, he never retired. They just moved on without him. So it's like he's still wrestling. He's still trying to live like he was a young man. There's a great scene where he gets one of the local kids to come into his trailer and like they play a video game. And I was reading on the trivia that the company that made that video game, they actually made a working video game that actually... So when you see them playing the game, they're actually playing a video game.
Cool.
That actually like fully works.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Because there's nothing worse than in watching a movie and they put a fake video game
put
on
the
screen.
PlayStation on and they pick up like a Nintendo controller.
But because they don't want to get the rights to an actual video game, and so they make one, but it's like a poorly animated. Yeah,
and they all have that really weird animation style.
Yeah, that's clearly not a video game that no one is playing.
And yeah, just like a pretty good performance from Marissa Tomei as well. Like it's not really a performance I'd expect from her. Yeah, so that's about it.
Yeah,
really authentic human drama with Mickey Rourke giving an uncommonly good performance, given the era it came out in, at least.
Well, yeah, it was his like one big comeback performance, and then
the other classic I wanted to talk about is There Will Be Blood by Paul Thomas Anderson.
12 out of 10.
Yeah, made at the same time as, or shot during the same time as No Country for Old Men.
They came out in the same year. Yeah, how crazy is that?
What a good year for westerns.
Yeah, I mean, like the fact that either one of them could have won Best Picture, and both of them are 21st century defining cinema, like masterpieces of cinema. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis, what an actor. They don't make him like him anymore.
Oh my God.
He is such a range of like, I felt pity for him. I was happy for him. I was sad. I was angry at him. It's like the whole breadth of emotion in one character. Yeah. And like you see him get crazy, slowly get crazier.
I love the start. The start of the movie, so simple, no dialogue. with the baby, and then like by where he ends up on the floor, and it's just like. That journey is just so well.
I love that. It's kind of on the nose, but he goes, "I'm finished," and then the credits roll.
It's the best ending. Like such a good ending. That end monologue with the "I drink your milkshake," like on another level. Yeah. Also, Paul Dano is amazing.
Transcendent.
Get out of here, ghost.
Yeah.
I don't know how can you be that good?
I know.
Like Daniel Day-Lewis.
He's completely unhinged.
Yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis is like a god of acting, but Paul Dano is unhinged, so good.
Oh man, and it's also I have a soft spot for those small churches where they're really loud and they do the tongues and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, speaking in tongues. Yeah,
I kind of like that. I like to see that in cinema.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Did you watch that? What was that movie with on Netflix? Tom Holland was in it.
Yeah, that was great. It had Robert Pattinson in it.
Yeah, and he was like the preacher.
I know what you're talking about.
I can't remember what it's called. Yeah, but that had that kind of church. That kind of. The
Devil All the Time.
Devil All the Time.
Yeah. That was an awesome film.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah.
There Will Be Blood. There's a scene where he's with his brother, who turns out to not be his brother. Sorry for spoilers. But where Daniel Day-Lewis jumps into the water. And then it just has like the colors are kind of interesting, but it has Daniel Day-Lewis kind of staying motionless in the center while the water revolves around him. And I'm like, and I don't know if this was just me trying to deconstruct the symbolism, but I'm like, is this the moment where it kind of clicks and he starts to go crazy? Because it's like him trying to stay stable in this world, and he can't kind of like, you know what I mean? Yeah. He's not stable anymore. It's like a representation of his like decline. And I was watching that and I'm like, oh wow, this is where it starts, and it kind of does. He kind of goes downhill pretty quickly from there.
Yeah.
Like he beats up poor Paul Dano for like no reason.
Yeah.
I can't remember what he shouts at him.
I don't want to spoil anything for people who haven't seen it, which I mean, everyone should have seen it.
It's such a sweeping film that you can't really spoil it too bad.
Yeah, but also Paul Dano's character isn't innocent.
No, but he asked for the money.
Yeah.
And Daniel Day-Lewis just starts beating him up. I'm like, that was so unnecessary. Also, the practical effects are awesome.
Oh, the oil rig
the oil derricks, and like I don't know how it all works. It's like suction and stuff, but when the fire comes billowing at the top, so cool. I was like, that costs money.
Yeah, like you know movies are special, and you know, like There Will Be Blood and No Country for Old Men are those movies. It's like they feel like classics when you watch them, and they stand up to the test of time. But yeah, they're movies where, you know how me especially, we always complain. Movies, they don't make them like they used to. They don't make them with practical effects. They had too much CGI crap, this, that, and the other. There Will Be Blood is an example of like, that's how you make a movie.
It's cinema.
It doesn't matter that we're in the 21st century. It doesn't matter that we got CG. Like, that's how you make a movie.
But I couldn't tell. You know what I mean? To me...
there might be some digital effects.
But like to me, as far as I'm concerned, they time traveled and just took a camera with them and filmed some crazy stuff they saw.
Such a good movie.
When it really transports you to that time and place, and there's no moment or scene that breaks you out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's
because even like something like Devil All the Time, which was good. It's like there were moments where I was like, "Oh, that's bad CGI," kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's even the same with The Wrestler. There was no moment that broke you out of the spell. If that makes sense. No. It all looks physical. It all looks
that's
authentic.
A very raw, authentic movie. It's got that documentary handheld camera kind of thing going on. Yeah.
That's about it for me.
That's it.
That's it.
I think that's it for everyone.
We thought we'd have to go over.
Yeah, I mean, well, we could ramble on for another 7 hours about nonsense, but... one more thing about Army of Dead, Richard Cheese.
Richard Cheese, yes.
Yeah, almost
the movie
forgot.
I knew I was going to love this movie. As soon as it started, Richard Cheese opens with a montage of like Vegas sort of under havoc of zombies, like in the initial outbreak. Richard Cheese covers Viva Las Vegas.
Yeah, which... because I wasn't really familiar with Richard Cheese,
he's
and
amazing.
Then you guys are like, he makes like soft
he's
lounge
like
jazz
lounge jazz
covers of like
it's
rap
tongue in
music
cheek.
And,
It's a he's not a joke act.
Yeah,
but it's funny. Like he covers all different types of stuff. He does heavy metal, rap, hip hop, country, like everything. But he does like lounge jazz versions of those songs. And
he did that Viva Las Vegas for Army of the Dead.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm not familiar with this guy. So I started listening to some of his covers on YouTube. And then the first one I listened to was Down with the Sickness. And I was listening to it. I'm like, Zack Snyder used this cover for his Dawn of the Dead movie.
So he must be a Richard Cheese fan.
Zack Snyder was just like, I got to get some Richard Cheese in this movie.
So now every Zack Snyder movie I watch, I'm going to be listening for Richard Cheese. If there was
a Richard Cheese song in Batman v Superman, it would have made it such a much better movie.
That's what was missing.
Yeah.
He does a good cover of Welcome to the Jungle they could have used or something like that. Some heavy metal song. Like. Oh, man. Alrighty, well, I reckon that's all for tonight, everybody. Thank you for listening. Cool. We will be back next week. You can catch us on Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, wherever you listen.
Wherever you listen to podcasts. Rate, review, and subscribe. Like and share.
Yes, we're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram.
Do the things.
It all helps.
Do all the things. It helps us somehow. We will be back next week. Thank you for listening, everybody. Adios, cousins.